Hello, everybody. I'm going to start a minute early, or I guess 3 minutes early, as the case may be, because I'm going to have to jump off a little bit early for a previous engagement today with some awesome people who are like-minded individuals that want to create stuff. So let me start off by saying the magical words: Happy wedNESday! Yes, here we are. I'm glad to see you guys today. As we venture forth into the frontier, and by frontier I mean Project Frontier, where we're going to use sort of a demake lesson of Project Frontier, looking at how the mechanics work in this modern sort of sandbox survival RPG, and then how we can start making analogs to that in 8-bit for the NES using NESmaker. So everyone has something to be excited about here. Whether you're coming here, let me fix my camera a little bit so it's a little bit higher, not too high. Oh, anywhere I put it, it's awkward. If you're here because you're following Project Frontier, awesome. And we're going to be sort of thinking about Project Frontier and how its mechanics work. And for you, that's kind of fun to see it sort of demade its novel. For those of you who are NESmaker users, you get to sort of see how to do some skills and tricks and how I might approach things. Now, I'm going to give a forewarning. This stuff's often off the cuff. Like about a half an hour ago, I thought, maybe I'll spend a couple weeks talking about how to do that. And so I haven't thought it out fully, but I've got a pretty good idea of some of the things that I want to try and do. So bear with me, guys, as I try and take the complex mechanics of a game like Project Frontier and then I work them down into 8-bit. Now, let me say also, before I get started making anything cool, know that Project Frontier has a first of all, thank you guys for coming to this, because Project Frontier is cool enough. OCP is cool enough to allow me to do this on my lunch breaks, to share this sort of happening with you, even though this is not directly Project Frontier related, right? They value you guys as creators. I tell you this every week. They value you guys as creators. We are a Project Frontier is a game that's all about that sort of creative mindset, and they've seen that the NESmaker community is all about that. So they're happy to sort of support this. I want to keep it going, so please let people know that this exists. Spread the word if you guys are interested, and know that I'm going to try and be posting these to YouTube after the fact if you want to study and analyze and stuff like that. So notice I'm padding for time for these first couple minutes. Hey, Joe. Hey, everybody joining the chat. I see we got a couple people in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, I've got about 45 minutes today before I got to jump off. So I wanted to start a little bit early, make sure there was no technical difficulties. You guys rock. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Man, you guys, it means a lot. So on the note of Project Frontier, before we get started with today's demake lesson, this is a very exciting week for Project Frontier because it is official sort of public playtest week. Those playtests start tomorrow. Now that's the sort of first party game of Project Frontier, and you guys can kind of see what it's all about. I encourage everybody who hasn't signed up for the playtest, please do. If you have questions about that, let me know. I know most of you are connected to me on social media. I'll make sure that when I post this to YouTube, the link is there. But come join us Thursday or Friday night this week, tomorrow or Friday night this week. Join us for a play test. Jump into a session. Jump in with me. Join my team as we battle. And you can kind of see how what we're doing here translates to that modern game and how absolutely ridiculous it is to try and demake that. But yeah, please, this is a big week for us. So if you can, support, spread the word. Without further ado, let's jump into some nest making. Now, I had some thoughts. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be a one session idea. I think this is going to have to straddle a few different sessions. But it is a core mechanic in Project Frontier, so I thought it'd be really cool to show it as a demake. And the mechanic is this: there is resource harvesting in Project Frontier, right? There's resource harvesting that you can do. And you can you've got a pickaxe, like in a Minecraft, right? You can go and you can mine resources all you want, but because that can be kind of a slog and take away from the excitement and the action of a game like that that's supposed to be a survival game, you can actually get the blueprints for a resource harvester. And once you get the necessary material, you can put a resource harvester out, which will automatically collect the resources. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to spend probably 2 to maybe 3 sessions showing how I could do something comparable, which is ridiculous to think about on the NES. So here's the idea. First, I've got to make a pickaxe. I've got to make a weapon, and we're gonna get to like more weapon type stuff later. But let's just make the pickaxe. Let's make the pickaxe so when I press the B button, it smacks. And I'm gonna make it so that if I hit a resource node, like if it hits a collision resource node, it'll create a little spark, right? It'll create so I know that I'm hitting a resource node, and I'd probably put a cool sound effect in it. And then what I'll probably go on and do is I'll probably take the collision, and when it collides with it, I'll have to hit it a few times before it goes away. And this is I could do this in a lot of different ways. The easiest way I can do it is I'm just gonna make a couple different collision types, right? So I'll make 3 different collision types, and the third one you hit it again, it goes away. That's probably what I'm going to try and do today. And then what we're going to do is add some kind of HUD so I can keep track of how many resources I've mined. And then once I have the HUD going next week, hopefully, I'll try and create a resource harvester that you can place down, and it will automatically collect resources within a certain area. And you'll see a little animation to know that it's working, and you'll see your resources sort of go up in your HUD. So that's sort of the plan for today, and probably going into the next couple things. But included in that is a ton of cool little tips and tricks, or behind the scenes looks at how some things work, and also you get to hang out with me. So, all right, without further ado, I think I've said that before, and I do'd further. Let's make a weapon, and I'm going to make a custom creation script to create that weapon. So just so you guys can see what I've done, not much today, is in my pixel editor, I've added this little 8 pixel by 8 pixel pickaxe sprite, which is a horrible pickaxe sprite. I haven't even added any pallets or anything like that. I've also added this, and I made an object for this smack. So I haven't even made the object for the pickaxe yet. So for smack, I've got this little animation right here, right? So because I want to use some things that are integral in the physics scripts and the tile collision scripts, I'm going to make this an object. I would actually rather keep this just as a sprite and not take up an object resource and all the things that involves for the hammer smack. But it'll make it easier and quicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my melee weapon. Now this could be any object at all. These names don't mean really anything. I'm going to call this pickaxe. All right. And I'll make this a player weapon. And I'm not going to add anything to it. I'll give it a full bounding box. I'm not going to add any actions to it. And in fact, actually, I might. So I might make an action that makes it go away after a second. I could add just a little timer, and when the action's done, it'll get destroyed. So that'll be just a quick, and then whatever. I'm not going to spend a lot of time tracking if I've already got a weapon on the screen or not. I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I'll do that later, another step. But let's start building some animations, right? So let's do this. I'm going to manage my animations. I'll call it smack down. And then I'll call it smack up. And then I'll call it smack left. And I'll call it smack right. And again, guys, thanks for bearing with me because I haven't fully thought this idea through. I am a professional. So let's go into each of these animations. So for smackdown, it's just a single, and I'm going to flip that vertically. For smack up, it's just that. For smack left, it's this flipped horizontally. And for smack right, it's just that. So now I've got this going in its 4 directions, and I can go into my object details, and I can actually add, I could just call this smack. Okay, and if I'm facing down, it's going to show smack down. Facing right, it's going to show smack right. If I'm facing up, it's going to show smack up. And I'm facing left, it's going to show smack left. Okay, so now all I got to do is take the player's direction info and push it into the thing that I'm creating. And I'm trying to reconcile the different versions of NESmaker. So bear with me if I have to look at some stuff. But I'm going to hit close here. I think this honestly should be very similar to a weapon script. So if I were to go to input scripts and just go into game and like the adventure base and look at inputs, there's probably a change to attack, right? This script is probably very similar to what I want to do, but it's honestly way more advanced than what I need to do. I could probably take some of this information and copy it. Like this gives me what position I should point depending on my character's position. There are actually way easier ways to do this, or way I should say way shorter ways to do this. And maybe I'll look at that right now. Let me examine that right now. In fact, this is way too much. We don't need half this. I lied. We don't need any of this. What I do want to know is get object direction. Oh wow, I didn't even know that I had a get object direction macro in this module. It's been a long time since I've looked at these. I wonder why it's been so long since I've looked at these modules in this version. I say nothing. I say nothing else. All right, so I'm going to open this up. I'm going to make a completely new script here. Forget this. I'm just going to use that as a reference point. And I need to know which way my player is facing. So I'm just going to pull this over. So now I have the direction of my objects, and I can actually look. This returns. Let's see. Oh, it returns 0. So I'm going to actually copy this over. So I have that as a reference. Great. And now I know it's going to be either 0 or 2 or 4 or 6. All right. So I'm just going to make some cases. First of all, if I run this macro, and I say BNE, that means if it's not equal to 0, I'm going to say not down. So this is what happens if I am facing down. Now I can compare it to, if I look at my screen, I'll compare it to right, compare it to 2. BNE not right. Okay. I can compare it to 4. Oh no. Oh, I hate this thing. Okay. If I hit certain keys, it activates my I swear I've turned off all keyboard shortcuts, but it just likes to ignore. Not up, right? And not up. And I'm comparing it to 6. And I don't even need to do this one, not necessarily, because that would be the last choice left, right? Okay, so I'll put this is right. This is up. So I'm just making sort of a template that I can follow and read really easily. I also usually like to do this. Done. And so when I'm done with what happens when I press down, I'm going to jump to done. And when I'm done with right, I want to jump to done. And I'll tell you the reason that I do that. The reason that I do this is because if I don't, it will flow into the next piece of code. So this is a really good practice to get into, to like make sure that it doesn't skip into this, because if I do some math in here and then what gets loaded into the accumulator is 2 for some reason, it could end up reading a positive of this and then do this, which gets really confusing. I'm gonna hit save, and I think I've got a special place for scripts, if I'm not mistaken. Like I've got a Joe's scripts or something, custom scripts. Yeah, I don't know if I can do it there. Hold on. Let me put it in NESmaker 4.5 game engine. I'm gonna put it. Nope. Sorry, routines. Base 4.5 custom scripts. That's where I thought it was. Okay. So this is an input file. I'm gonna call create. What I call it, pickaxe. Save it as an ASM file. Boom. Now it'll format. Awesome. Oh, I'm sorry, it hasn't been that exciting NES test. But I am just going through some basic stuff that you guys probably already know who are pros. And I will post this on YouTube too, so you guys can sort of see. So all of these now have what happens in each of these cases. Okay, so I want to create the pickaxe, which is game object 1. And I could look at my reference here if I really wanted to. And I'm not worried about this yet. But what I want, and I haven't made an action step for attacking with this or anything like that. But what I do want to look at is create object, right? So with create object, it's what object, what x, y, what object, what state it should be in, and then what name table it should be in. And man, like I said, it's been a long time since I've looked at this. So let's do this. I could do it the long way. And for each of these, I could just say, I'm just going to create it arbitrarily on the screen at like the middle of the screen. So I could do create object. And right now I'm just going to, this is just a smoke test. So I'm going to put an 80, 80 object number 1, which is the pickaxe right here, right? And state 0. And I'm going to make it a current name table. Okay. And I'm just going to do that for every direction. And obviously I'm going to change this. This is a horrible idea, by the way. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do the same. What I need to do is I need to fill in this information, this information, this information, and this information. And this will be the same. And this will be the same. And this will be the same. So really I need this bit of information. And then I do one time create object. I don't need to do this all 4 times. I don't need to run this macro 4 times. But just for testing, let's make sure that I can make this work. So I'm going to save this, create pickaxe. So I'm going to get rid of this. I don't want this in here anymore. I am going to get my custom scripts, create pickaxe. There it is. And in my input editor, my main game, if I press B, I'm going to create a pickaxe, add the script. So I should see this just show up in the middle of the screen, and I made it go away after like 2 ticks, so it should go away pretty quick. Let's just test and see if that works. Oops, come here. I have a reset script somewhere. Oh, you know why? Because I've got that. I am competing with this script, which also used the B button, I bet. So this is warps the screen and starts it over again. So you know what? Just to make it easy, I would not. What I could do is check to see if I'm on one of those tiles, have a trigger. And if I'm on one of those tiles, then the B button would do this. I'm just gonna erase this, and for right now, to make sure that this is working, I'll use my A button for that. So I'll create a pickaxe with an A button. This is not really what I want to do. I want to change tile position. Let's get rid of that. Let me see. If I press B, yeah, okay. Yeah. So now if I press A, we should see the pickaxe. And we do. There it is. And it is creating it no matter which way I'm moving. Awesome. So now I have to figure out, okay, how can I set up its direction, right? So I want it to face the same direction that I'm facing. So I need to read my direction, which is stored in temp right now. And there's a good way to sort of see this. Well, this is one way to do it. Okay. This makes something move. I was seeing if I had a good example here. I don't. Okay. Let's see if I can remember how to do this here. If I just go to, I can't remember what all these are. My goodness, it's been so long. If I do this, because this X is now loaded in, and I'm actually going to do, yeah, no, this will be fine. I don't think that this is right, but let's try this. I think I used the higher bits for this, but let's check it out. Shouldn't be, I'm sorry, it should be 0, 2, 4, and 6, but I don't think that's correct. Let's see what happens. Oh, good. That is right. Okay, good. So now I've got it, the direction working right. And the direction is directly applicable to these numbers right here. So what I can do is now I got to position it right. Again, this is highly unoptimized, but instead of putting it 80 and 80, what I've got to do is I've got to load object x high, stay, we'll put this in temp x, load object y high, temp y. So now what I'm going to do is for down, I'll load temp x, add 4 to it because it's a 16 pixel sprite for my character. It's an 8 pixel sprite for my pickaxe, and I want it half, over by 4 because then I'll have 4 pixels padding on each side. Does that make sense? Anyway, once you start working with these, you'll probably understand what I just said. So I'm going to add 4. I'm going to store that to temp x, load temp y. Now, so this is down, so I want to add 16 or temp 16. And then I want to create this at temp x and temp y. Now, let's see if I did that right. Let's say down. Yep. And now I just have to do it for the other directions. And obviously I would want to create some method where if I'm already attacking, I don't attack. And I could do that pretty easy with a attack state or something like that lasts approximately the same time as the, in fact, why don't I do that? That's easy. So when I hit this create pickaxe, let's see, I also want to change action state, which if you look at your change to attack, it's one of the things you'll see here. Change, that's maybe the first thing that happens. Change action step. Yeah, so change action step. And then what object you're in, and then what number behavior you want to do. So I'm going to change action step. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change action step. And I'm just going to say to temp, because that's the object that I'm looking at, right? I put player 1 object into temp. So for my player object, and then I'll make it 1. And what I will say for this whole script is, man, what is the macro? Get action step. Let's see. If I go into system, macros, get action step. Yeah. So this is the macro that I want to pull. So it just wants to know what player. So if I go to get action, get load x, want to know, let's see, get action step, temp. If it's 0, do this. But if it's not, I want to jump down to done. So I'm going to skip past it. All right. So if it's only going to change the action step, if my action step was 0, it's only going to do all this. If my action step was 0, if it's 1, it's not going to do any of this. And then what I'm going to do is, and that should, right now, what should happen is it should change to 1, and then it'll freeze. And obviously didn't, because I'm trying to show you guys something important. So that obviously didn't work. Change action step. Let's see. Get action step. Do this. That's done. Change action step to 1 here. Unless I've already got some details on action step 1. Should do this. Don't know why. Doesn't go back. So get action step. It does this. It's equal 0. Change action step. Temp to 1. Just say temp. Nope. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Let me think on that. Yes, but I haven't done any of that stuff with this game. I don't think, but I can check and make sure. Do I change action step with this one? I don't actually change action step with this one. I don't believe. Oh, I do. Oh, I do change it to 1. Ah, thanks, Joe. Change action step to 2. I forgot that I'd even set up a change of action step already. So I need to say if I'm walking, let's see, if it's less than, let's see, good action step, BQ. Let's do this. 1, B, any, keep checking. I can check other states now. So if it's 1, no, I'm sorry. Huh. Yep. So if it's not 0, do that. If it's 0, it'll do this. If it's 1, it'll do this. Otherwise, it'll jump to done. What am I not thinking about? Okay. Get action step. If it's equal to 0, do this. It'll change it to 2. If it's equal to 1, do this. Sorry. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's what I'm trying to make happen. All right. So now what I'll do is for action step 2, when it jumps to action step 2, I'll give it a little timer. So I'll give it the same amount of time. And when the action's done, it will go to first, which is back to idle again. So now, and the only problem is that if I continue to hold down, you see as I slide, because I never press it again to change to the action. So I'd have to come up with an idea for that. But for right now, that works. And the long way that I could do this is I could, instead of checking press to change action state to moving, I could change it to hold, but then check to see if I'm already at walking or not at walking. So there's a lot of sort of logical analyses I could do to check that. I can think that out pretty easy, but I want to get to the functional stuff that we want to do today, which is getting the hammer smack, and we only have about another 20 minutes. So let's make sure that we're moving this, we're putting this in the right place. So if I'm facing, let's see, I can now do up pretty quick. So instead of 80, 80, right? I'm going to do this. Let's do this right here, copy that. Paste it here, but instead of, I'm sorry, I did want that. There we go. Instead of adding, I'm going to subtract 8, because this is 8 pixels above my character's head. And now left and right, take that, copy it, paste it here. So this is right, so this should be load tempx. 16 over, which is hex 10, and 4 down. So I'm reversing that. Oops. And copy this, and for left, instead of adding 10, I'm subtracting 8. And now I should have my hammer in all the directions. Oops. They're all going down. Uh-oh. Oh no, did I add a direction to all of them? Let's see, 2, 4, no. 6. Huh. What'd I do? Okay. For temp X, temp Y. Now, hang on just a second. Let's see. So I'm going down, going right. That's not correct. Let's get up work. Let's get up working first and see what I did wrong here. So what I've got is if it's not down, goes here, not right. Okay, so I'm here. Now hold on. Is it always reading is down? Because I think it is. It's always reading is down because even my graphic is showing down. So, okay, so it's always reading is down. So what is the last thing I did? Get direction. It's not equal, not down. Compare it to 2. Let's just make sure that it's reading is up. So I'm going to put this in here real quick. And if I'm up, I should get a reset. And I don't, so it's not getting there. So I screwed something up. Copying, pasting, screwed something up. All right, so let's see. Get action step temp. Let's just make sure that temp is still secure here. This may have corrupted temp, maybe, for some reason. I don't know why, but let's see. Well, now I'm perplexed because I broke everything here. Yeah, object, direction, temp, player object. Yep. Huh. So that's something. I broke everything, guys. I broke it. Player 1 object. Step, change action step. 2. Good. Yes. Get action step of that object. Yup. Let's see. It's not down. Let's see. Now this is bizarre. So what I would usually have to do, I would probably rewrite this whole thing and I would automatically magically find my issue. So let's see if I can walk through this one more time. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting the object direction of temp. And temp is the object that is stored into player object. I don't think this should have anything to do with it, but let's make sure that temp is actually the thing that is, or the player object is the thing that, aha! Okay, so temp was getting corrupted somewhere in the change action step. So somewhere I corrupted temp. So when I was trying to use temp here, it was a corrupted variable. Who knows what object it was trying to change. Now this should work. And so there was nothing necessarily wrong with the code. It was just which object currently was loaded into that RAM space. So now I should have right and up and left and down. Awesome. Whew, glad to know I'm not crazy for sure. That's yay. It's a win. All right, so all that. Let's break down. Let's break down sort of how this worked. Okay, and now I've got a couple of extra loading player and temp. That's fine. So what I'm doing is I usually like to go through and comment my code, and I'll do that especially for YouTube. So puts the player object into temp variable. What action step is my player in? If 0, standing still, we'll use pickaxe. If 1, standing still, we'll use pickaxe. If not 0 or 1, we're done. Okay, so I think this one was unnecessary, but again, this is put player in temp, changed action step to for player. position, put it in temp X, get his X position, put it in temp, get his Y position, and put it in temp Y. Put, sorry, put, yeah, player in temp. Get player's direction. And then I've got the rest sort of commented, right? So you can you should be able to follow it from there. So I've got 4 choices: down, right, up, and left. Now what it's doing is taking that positioning, and if you think about it, if I'm facing down, right, it's moving a little bit over in the X value and 16 pixels down to the bottom of my player, and that's where it's going to create it, right? And so I do a little modification to temp X, do a little modification to temp Y, and that's where I create this object. Same thing if it's to the right, it's 16 over from the position and a little bit down. So it's 16 over, that's hex 10, like hex 16, whatever you want to say. Hex 10 is decimal 16. So 16 over from the temp X position and 4 down from the temp Y position. And that's where it's creating it. So that's basically what all 4 of those are doing. Awesome. Cool. So we've got something happening. And now we've got this pickaxe thing happening. So now what I've got to do is I've got to create a new tile collision type that's going to check for the pickaxe. All right. And we've got about 10 minutes, and I don't think we're going to get nearly as far as I wanted to get today. But to begin, I will put this cool looking resource node here, these rocks sort of in my screen. All right. And what I want to do is I want to make it so the idea is that if I walk up to one of these, first of all, it's solid for my player. If I walk up to it and I do that, it'll mine that rock, right? That's the idea. And I also want to make it so I can't move if I'm in that state, but that's neither here nor there. That's pretty easy to do later. Really, this is a tutorial on mining the rock. So what I can do is I'm going to make a new tile. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come into my projects. I'm going to get a new tile type. I'm going to call tile type 10. No reason, just picking an arbitrary one. I'm going to call this resource node 0. Go to script settings. I'm going to look for tile type 10. Right now it's blank. I'm going to hit edit. That's going to open up this blank script. I don't want to save it there. I'm going to save this as, and I'm going to save it to my custom scripts here. And I'll call this resource node 0 tile as an assembly file. Okay. So now, first thing I want to do is, if it's a player, I want to do the same thing that it would do if it was solid. So let's test that real quick. So I just opened the solid tile. And what I'm going to say is I'm going to look at what object is loaded into X right now, because when I'm doing tile collisions, the object that is running into the tile is already loaded in X. It's in X as part of the routine. So I can compare X to, let's see. I could do this for now. This is not the best way to do it. Really, I should be looking at the type of object so that I could look to see if it was a monster too, if it was a projectile or something like that. But for right now, I'm going to look and see, is it the player object? If it's not, let's say, yeah, if it's not, is player. So I usually make sure that I open and close if I've got like a branch statement. So if it's a player, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this, which makes it solid. And then this is what happens if not player. And actually, we're going to have to figure out the type. And I should be able to say load object type X. on player or pickaxe. And then that'll come down here, not player. So what's happening is I'm gonna look at the type. If it's object type number 1, it's gonna come here. So this is pickaxe. And when I'm done with whatever the pickaxe does, I don't want solid to be activated. So I'm gonna jump to not player or pick, which is basically like the done state for this script. This will be the end of the script. So if it is the pickaxe, I'm gonna just hit a jump reset. I'm gonna see if this works. I'm gonna save this. And so now I'm gonna go into my tile type number 10 instead of blank. I'm gonna go into resource node 0, and I'm gonna make sure these are painted with resource node 0. And obviously I could also go into collisions to see, change this to resource. Oh, wow. I have to refresh my screen in order to see that change. So if I come into here now, it'll be there, resource node 0. And I can paint with it now. So either way, will get me there. I should be able to walk into it and it'll make it solid for my player. And of course it does not, because I'm trying to show you guys something. So of course it wouldn't work. Let's figure out why. So let's do this. How about I do that? How about I say if it is the player, it jumps to the player. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Whew! It is a Wednesday, isn't it? There we go. There we go. So now it's solid. And if I smack it with my hammer, it should reset. Yay! It worked. All right. So instead of resetting, I'm going to change tile position. And if I look at my change tile at position macro, change tile at position. I'm sorry, it's change tile at collision. I don't have a change tile at position macro in this module, but change tile at collision I do. And it wants the meta tile to change into and the collision to change into. I'm just going to put 0, 0 because that's going to make it the first tile, which is grass, and I'm going to make it walkable. Branch out of range. Okay, if you ever see a branch out of range message like this, usually what this denotes is it can't reach from here to here. Because this, what's actually being stuffed into there, is a ton of code, and there's too much code. So what I could do instead is I can do the inverse of this. I could say branch, if it's not equal to not player, this is probably what I was thinking about doing a second ago, and that's why it was wrong. We'll go with that anyway. I can jump. So what I just did was I did the inverse, because a jump command, that can jump further than a branch command. Branch is only within a certain amount of instructions. Jump can jump wherever it needs to. So, and of course, I'm using layman's vernacular here. Branch out of range at 10. That's here. No problem. Is player or pickaxe? Jump, not player or pickaxe. Same thing. Is player, is player or pickaxe. Just doing the inversion of that, and then jumping there. Okay, so if it is 1, it is the player or pickaxe. There we go. It's going to go here. Great. So now let's see if I've done that. I collide with it and I hammer it and it goes away and I can walk on it. Awesome. So I've made a destructible, which that was one of the goals for today, is I've made this destructible terrain object. Now we're going to add a little bit of flair to it while we have a couple of minutes. We literally only have a minute or two, guys, so bear with me. I'm going to now also, let's see, TXA, load object X. Oh, here we go again. It does not like underscores or dashes, which is problematic, obviously. I need temp X. Let's see if I can do this. Load object underscore Y. Y. And I'm going to create my smack. Create object at tempx, temp Y, object number 8, 0, and current name table. And I would play a sound right here too. And we got one more thing that I would like to do, and let's see if I can do it. So now, oops, right. Boom. So now I've got this little indicator that, yes, I've done something, and I can tell that I did something. Now I'll make that a little faster. I don't like how slow that explodes. So let me just go in, let me go into object details, go into actions, and make that just a little bit faster. And that's gratifying. And I think that's where we're gonna have to stop for the day. Great. So I've now made, mineable resources, kind of. What I'm gonna do with the next session is I'm going to add a HUD that actually can keep track of how many resources I've mined, and I'm going to make I'm going to have to hit it multiple times in order to mine the resource. And then I'm going to start towards adding a automatic resource harvester, which will harvest anything within a radius, and it'll automatically start pulling after a certain amount of time. That'll go away after a certain amount of time. That one will go away, etc. So kind of cool, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I'm sorry I got to run. This has been fun. Hopefully that's insightful. Gave you a little bit of ideas of things to do and ideas to try, and why certain things happen and how you can find other things. These are meant to be just broad strokes at NESmaker, while also featuring some of the fun stuff that's in Project Frontier. Guys, I hope I see you guys at the playtest this week, tomorrow and Friday night. If you have questions about that, just hit me up. Most of you guys know me. Find us on the Project Frontier Discord. Email me. Hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you the same time next week.